Gridiron 360. It's Bill and Dave. We are wrapping up our conversation on this very cast about the 2020 NFL draft prospects. Draft tomorrow night. We've gone through all the Power 5 schools and the prospects out of each in some way, shape, or form. We just ripped through 6 of 12 different guys in no specific order outside of the Power 5, whether it be an independent, a group of 5, or smaller school prospect. The first 6 we went through, again, no specific order. Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State. Ezra Cleveland, offensive tackle, Boise State. Josh Jones, offensive tackle, Houston. Kyle Duggar, safety, Lenore Ryan. Curtis Weaver, edge rusher, Boise State. And Julian Aquara, edge rusher, Notre Dame. So we're going to stay at Notre Dame, but move to the other side of the ball. And this young man is from Illinois, a junior tight end for the Fighting Irish, Mr. Cole Kmet. Stands at 6'6", 262, 33-inch arms, 10.5-inch hands, ran a 4.7 at the combine. Had a 37-inch vert. That's nice. Broad jump, so-so, 123. You see a comp of Tyler Higbee, a projection of round 2. A lot of people are saying he could be the first tight end taken off the board. He had a lot of production in the red zone. He was a favorite target of what's his nuts there over at the quarterback for Notre Dame. I'll let you.
I want to say like Booker, not Booker. Ian
Book.
Ian Book.
But I don't know if he'll be the first one. Even if he is, I don't know if tight end will be taken in round 2. Oftentimes, tight ends don't come in even as great as they may have been in college their first year, and really they could be productive but really produce in an offensive fashion, catching the ball the way you might want them to.
Yep.
So I actually liken him more. Like I said, they say Tyler Higbee. I liken him more to a guy that also out of Notre Dame in Tyler Eifert.
That's what I was thinking.
That's who he reminds me of. There are times where I saw him drop balls, my friend.
Yep.
That's what concerns me. Just not like steady hands like a juggler. Like he'll let it hit off and maybe readjust. You can't do that all the time in the NFL. Guys are going to be right there. If you don't snatch that thing, you can't play with it.
Okay.
So what do you think about Kmet?
I think, here's the thing about him is, he does have that big time size at 6'6", 260, and he looks leaner, so he probably has some room to put on some weight. But the reality is this guy is, they say he's a Y tight end, which is basically the simplest way of saying he's a receiving tight end. He's not going to be that big of a blocker, which is kind of disappointing given his size, that he should. Again, you're not necessarily saying that he's going to be great at it, but he should be effective and efficient. He does have some, I think, somewhat deceptive speed. Like, he does get downfield, and in college with tight ends, there's not a lot of downfield throwing to tight ends in a lot of the programs they run, but some of them do.
4.7's pretty solid for a tight end.
Yeah, but he gets downfield, and that to me,
vert, like I said, 37-inch vert is nothing to scoff at with a 6'6" guy.
Yeah, I mean, well, you are if he can get to that next level and really sharpen his game there to become a bigger threat there, and we're talking about getting in the 15 to 30 yard range. You got to start thinking who's going to cover him that far. What linebacker can stay with him it's even remotely close to his size, and certainly a safety that can run with him is going to struggle. I mean, that if you think about it, that's the advantage that the Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski's had is there wasn't a guy out on the field ever that could cover them.
Right. It was a matchup nightmare.
Yeah, sometimes they were putting. I mean, I remember Kelce. We were watching, seeing Jalen Ramsey switch over to Kelce.
Yeah.
Just because it was like, well, at least Ramsey's physical, but he's totally outmatched physically from it. From the size standpoint. But the issue I see with him though is, I don't see Travis Kelce in him.
No.
I don't see that different level. And it should have been something he could have dominated So I like him. I think he's going in the second round. I do. I just think his name's been there. Like I always kind of look at who are the guys' names that always stay on the board where they're supposed to stay. He doesn't really move. Now there's talk about other guys going in front of him,
Yes.
and that kind of thing. We'll talk about one of those guys here, but I still think he's a second rounder because I think teams need a tight end. He'll get and he's got that size, which people are going to fall in love with, regardless of whether he uses it well or not.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just hope. I mean, you did see a lot of good things out of Tyler Eifert those first few seasons coming out, and then all of a sudden it was injury prone, and then he just never was the same. So hopefully this kid could come out producing the same, be consistent, but not have the injury problem. This will stay at Notre Dame. This young man is from British Columbia, I think. Anyways, he is a senior wide receiver for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Mr. Chase Claypool, 6'4", 238, 32.5-inch arms, 9 7/8-inch hands. Big kid.
Yep.
He's got some height. He's got some weight. He's got the arm length. He's got the hand size. Ran a 4.42 40, 19 on the bench. Vert was 40.5 inches. That's pretty nice.
Yep.
126 on the broad jump, also very nice. Again, a lot of these guys, if not all of them, will be taken on day two, or between day 1 and day 2. And, these guys probably on day 2 for sure.
Yep.
Just depends on whether it's second or third round.
Yeah, interesting part I saw when I think it was right before I found it. It was right before the the coronavirus stopped there. They had some people had talked about going to see Claypool, and one of the interesting things I saw is because if you really look at him from a size standpoint, he's thick.
He's a massive dude.
They're talking about the potential of this guy putting on a little bit more weight and playing tight end because he's pretty explosive. He's almost 240 pounds. And he's not. I think about Kelvin Benjamin was one of the biggest receivers I ever saw. 6'6", 240 pounds. Now he didn't end up panning out and had a lazy problem with him, but he almost looked like a tight end, and this guy's 2 inches shorter.
Are they talking? I haven't seen that. That's just something you think.
Well, no, that's no. There was things coming out about like teams talking to him about the potential of doing that. It is since I haven't heard anything since.
That's what they tried to do with Funchess when he came out of Michigan, and it never worked out. They tried to drop him down, put some weight on him, drop him down.
It is an interesting prospect,
yeah.
But in reality, do you line him up inside as a receiver and just treat him?
Yeah.
You almost in essence are converting him to that. You're still in that matchup nightmare. But this guy is. I've heard a lot of recent stuff with this guy now. Again,
and we have a deep receiver class, but this is a guy's name.
This is the guy people are talking about bouncing ahead of the few of the more known names. I'm not talking about him going in, number 1 in the draft at the receiver position, but this was a guy that was generally. What did you see? Do you have a ranking there? I've seen him as much as like 12, 13.
I'll tell you in a minute.
But then I've seen him moving up in that ranking, and now he's got a second round projection. Is that what they got?
Second, third,
day
2, second, third round projection potentially.
Yeah, but that's just crazy. It's crazy to me that guy's size. That is a thick dude at 6'4", 240 pounds. That's bigger than linebackers playing in the middle right now.
Yeah, hell yeah. Interesting prospect, and a kid you may hear his name right away. If a team is in need of some wide receivers, a guy that size, he can bully people.
Yep.
But again, I read some of his combine numbers. He's fast, ran a sub 4.5. He's got his vert is crazy, his broad is crazy, so he can jump out of the building. You can find use for that, especially a guy that size. So let's. Where are we? There we are. We're going to the Northeast. A gentleman who's from New York, a redshirt senior who played for the Yukon Huskies. Offensive tackle Matt Pert at 6'7", 318. Long arms, 36 5/8. good enough size hands, 9.5. Ran a 5.06 at the combine, not bad. Tackle. 26 reps on the bench, all right. His shuttle was a 4.92, good, below 5 seconds. 3-cone drill was an 8.01. Like to see that maybe somewhere in the 7.6, 7.7 range. But another guy, or again, why we're bringing him up, that is, this is turning out could be incredible. With either there was a lot of busts out of these offensive linemen, particularly tackles, or there's a lot of good ones, because there's another guy. Along with the next guy I'll see who's interior, that's his name's starting to come up. I mean, certainly he's got measurables. Huge guy, long arms, big hands, strong. But I don't know enough about him. I didn't watch really. I don't know, maybe one highlight of UConn playing an ACC team this year.
I don't think they did.
No, not even. See, so I don't know.
Yeah, here's the interesting part about this kid. He was born in Jamaica, moved to the Bronx, in New York, was a big basketball guy.
Oh.
And so not only does he have size, but that's some level of athleticism. I guess he went to a coach or school called Governors. I don't know. That's kind of what it says here, but I'm just reading an article that was in the Boston Globe. But what's interesting about him is, he grew, obviously 6'7", 318, is not little. And his arms are enormous.
Started all 4 years for UConn.
Yeah, but he's got a limited exposure to football, so
raw.
Again, yeah, a little bit, but at the same time, like, this guy has already shown that he's got some. I mean, to stand out at UConn is tough. So this guy's an interesting prospect, but the challenge with him is it is going to be how raw is he really?
Yeah.
But if you're able to get a guy like this in the later rounds, who could potentially become a starting tackle,
I still think he's going day 2. Maybe not in the second round, maybe in the third, but I think he could go late second. I mean,
I swear, have we gone through? I think everybody gets a left tackle this year.
I think so.
I swear to
we've
God,
got a lot of them, dude. I'm
feel
telling
like
you, because this guy played. The next guy, we'll move on to him. In the same conference, I think, as UConn. I'm not sure, in St. John's. Anyways, St. John's. It's in Minnesota. This kid played for St. John's. He's from Dayton, Oregon. A senior. I think he played tackle for St. John's, but I think he's projected as an interior O lineman in the NFL. His name, Ben Barch, 6'6", 309, 32 7/8 inch hands. There I go again. 32 and 7/8 inch arms.
Largest hands.
9 inch hands. I don't have. Let me see. Do I have any combine numbers? No, but he did, this is a guy that was a track star in high school. He did hurdles and 4x4, not track. You think of offensive line, okay, he did track and field in high school. He threw discus and he did chop. But no, this kid ran the 110-meter hurdles and 4x4 relays. Okay. He did, I think, also do discus and chop put. But, again, he didn't just do the heavy man's track and field events.
Well, I want to know, this is not the St. John's you're thinking of, just so you know. That St. John's is in New York.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so this is a different St. John's, so I don't know where, what they play in. But anyway, so
this guy says he's got limited experience, but, he has he's got some burst, he's got some speed, he seems to be a little nasty and knows how to use his hands.
Well, he's a ginger, he's going to be nasty.
Well, yeah, he's got a good anchor, with his knee bend and his legs. Probably a lot of that, he got some help from doing the track and field events.
It is interesting, it's 6'6" is pretty tall for a guard.
Yeah,
that's pretty
tall.
For
a guard. That's why he played tackle. So again, we don't need to I don't need you to dive into him too much more. But again, a guy that you're going to probably see on day 2 come off the board, simply because his measurables are incredible, and I think like the UConn kid, though UConn kid Pert played for 4 years there, he's still new to the game. This kid, I think he's fairly new to the game as well. It seems like he's not played this game too long, at least at the line position. So maybe there's potential.
Was a converted tight end, which is it's not a shocking thing. That's actually you're seeing that a little bit more. These guys have late growth spurts.
Yeah.
I don't know. This kid's kind of an interesting prospect, and you don't know, but you definitely love the athleticism, and he graded out great at the combine.
Yep.
So again, it's not a predictor as much as we'd like it to be, but that's still pretty impressive. But you talk about taking a step up.
Yeah.
Going to the NFL is going to be a new world for this dude.
All right, let's see. We got two more guys. The next guy on the board is from South Carolina. He's a senior for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. He's a cornerback. We want to bring him up because we don't feel like corners super deep in this draft, and so this guy's name will probably go on day 2. Mr. Troy Pride, Jr., for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, 5'11", buck 93, 35 1/8-inch arms, 9-inch hands, ran a 4.4 combine, 35.5 on the vert, 119 on the broad. Not as great, but he is a smaller guy, 13 reps on the bench. Mr. Troy Pride Jr., tell me a little bit about him.
He's on a little bit of the smaller side of the corner, at 5'11", 193. I think he's still within range of being able to take on the big guys. I do love the speed that he's got. All of that screams that he can play in the pros. This is interesting. There is, in his profile, it says that he has a lack of confidence and consistency that prevents him from reaching his athletic potential. Here's the good part is, with that speed, I always get nervous about straight line speed. I've seen enough guys at Florida State and that are just lightning fast going straight, but then have no wiggle or anything. This guy actually is pretty fluid in the hips for that speed, which is impressive. That's something I really like about him. I think it's, this is a guy, what are they probably projecting, mid-rounds? 4th, 5th, 3rd, 4th. It is a thinner position, and, certainly I think at that height and weight, he could certainly play, and if he can run with guys, I don't know enough to tell you where he's best suited and what type of system, but that's all I got
to see.
Yeah. I don't have a lot on Tony Pride. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Troy Pride Jr.
See, exactly my point.
All right. The last guy we're going to talk about, and I want you to keep in mind, there's another tight end in this draft out of Washington for the Huskies, Hunter Bryant. Okay? This is not Hunter Bryant, but it is another tight end. He played for the Florida Atlantic University Owls and Mr. Lane Kiffin himself. But what you do know, if you know Lane Kiffin, is offense. So this guy, he was a part of that offense, and they went from, I think, was this his first year there? It was his second year at FAU, I believe.
You talk about Kiffin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this first year, they didn't do so great. It was a starting year. And this year they won their conference. So he's done a lot of good things, despite what you may think about him. And again, this young man was a part of that. From Gray, Georgia, a senior for the FAU Owls, tight end Harrison Bryant. A lot of things I think to like about this kid. He's 6'5", 243, 35 ace on the arms, 9.5-inch hands. We're in a 4.73 combine. I don't think the 40 is great. The rest of the combine stats are nothing fantastic. But I'll tell you this. Past 2 years, 45 receptions and 662 and 18 with 4 TDs. Last year, 65 reception, 1,004 yards and 7 TDs. As a tight end, again, I don't know. He should probably go 3rd round. He might fall to day 3 to the 4th just because tight end. They're not going to be. You probably won't see any taken day 1. I'd be very surprised, which just pushes the whole pack back rounds altogether. But there is some people, I think he's got some basketball background, so he's got that kind of, that Antonio Gates basketball tight end type capability. But some people look at him a lot like George Kittle.
It's not a bad comparison.
That's not a bad comp, my friend. I mean, again, 6'5", 243. He's a big kid.
Yep, probably has room for some more.
Yeah, and with the athletic ability he has, like I said, with that basketball prowess and to be able to move, and that's this kid. He could be a gem for some teams. I mean, I kind of hope because like I said, as we sit the Giants, we don't have a day three pick unless we drop back and collect some stuff. I'm not saying we need to draft a tight end, even though a lot of people say it might be a need of ours. But I wouldn't go as high as even the 4th round probably for a tight end for the Giants. But maybe, I mean, this kid could be something special.
Yeah. I mean, what I like about him is he's the one guy of a lot of these tight ends that I've seen where they've actually been very complimentary about his blocking.
Yep.
And that is
again,
and if you remember,
a la George Kittle.
Yeah, like that I think is critical, is that is being able to find that kind of guy. And, remember, like, Rob Gronkowski was not all world coming out of college. George Kittle, like, people just didn't know him that well. I didn't know who the heck they were at that time. I mean, granted, I probably would have been paying a little bit more attention. I mean, I remember that he went to, Gronk went to Arizona. And so, but you don't really watch some of those games out here. So this is a kind of kid that probably doesn't get the press, but could be one of those exploding on the scene kind of guys. And, again,
this is what we're letting you know, so you're not surprised.
Yeah, this kid, I can be honest with you, the Bears do need a tight end, and I like this guy.
Yeah.
But, then he leads the college football in receptions at tight end. And, FAU is not it's not one of the top-tier programs, but it's also not a doormat. I mean,
high football IQ, they say. Obviously, if he was in an offense like a Kiffin offense, you can't slouch him for the fact, though it is high-powered. It's not simple. There's a lot of things going on, and obviously he took to it well because he was successful in it.
Yep. Yeah, this kid's the surprise. I will not be shocked to see this kid move up higher than what people project, just because.
So, see, even for your team, as you're watching your team,
I kind of started thinking about that.
Maybe this guy is something special. Again, going up early in round 2 for a Cole Kmet when you might be able to get this guy in round 4.
We'll see. I don't know that I've heard enough about him recently that I don't know that he's a hidden gem anymore. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to watch how this all unfolds.
That's right, ladies and germs. We're done. That is the 2020 NFL Draft Prospect Profiles, all the Power 5 conferences, and then some. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
Be great out here.
See ya!